What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Woman's Hustle. It is your girl, Coach K, and I am back with another amazing episode. Listen, if you have not done so by now, I need you to make sure that you have subscribed to the Upgraded Mindsets channel here on YouTube. But if you are listening audio wise, make sure that you are favoriting this podcast on that platform so you make sure you get all the updates on new episodes. All right. The Woman's Hustle is here to help us with the entrepreneur journey, wherever you are in that journey, whether it is just the visionary phase, whether it is the startup phase, whether you're excelling, amplifying, you're going to get some great insight here. And today's episode is going to be no different. So if you are watching on YouTube, then you see I'm not here by myself. So I'm going to allow my guest the honor of introducing herself. Hi.
Hi there. I am Wonder Wendy. I also have a podcast and I love talking to people. I love sharing a message. I love lifting people up. And when I get that feedback that somebody heard me, it means the world to me.
You better say it again.
And
I love
hearing
it.
you talk about people following you, as we go through this holiday season, the greatest gift you can give the entrepreneur is to follow and give a 5-star review.
I could not agree more. So make sure y'all do that, okay? Y'all know I definitely love y'all insight. I love feedback because y'all's feedback is what helps me continue with the episodes because I want to make sure that I'm giving you the value that you are looking for when you tune into the Woman's Hustle. So thank you, Wendy. Tell us a little bit more about Wonder Wendy. I actually love the name, but I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to let her kind of talk about it. Tell us a little bit more about what you do, podcast, but also everything else, because you are a busy bee, ma'am.
I'm a busy bee. First, I'll tell you, I became Wonder Wendy almost as a joke. My husband gave me that nickname, and it started out as an homage to Wonder Woman. So for a long time in my life there, everything was red, white, and blue. And if it had stars on it, I had to buy it. You know, I had underwear with stars, socks with stars, pants with stars, shirts with stars, head scarves with stars, star earrings. I still do, but not quite so much as I used to.
Right.
And a couple of years ago, I realized that I was no longer an homage to Wonder Woman. I am Wonder Wendy, and I am a superhero in my own right. And I owned that. I worked with a graphic designer to come up with colors and designs that were Wonder Wendy, no longer just an homage to Wonder Woman. And I still love my Wonder Woman. You know,
Right.
I'll put on my satin tights and fight for your rights. I swear. You know, I have the wrist bracelets. I'll fight for you. But it's about being my best, most authentic self. And once I discovered that person, and quite honestly, just a couple of years ago, and I'm 58 years young, I'm still figuring out who I am. When I started doing that, I started getting this feedback from friends and acquaintances that they loved this person. And one of my girlfriends looks at me, she says, Wendy, you are doing something that most women don't do at our age. And I said, what's that? Because I thought I was just living my life, which I am. She says, your life is getting larger at a point in life when most women's lives are getting smaller. You know, we're suddenly being relegated to being grandmothers and caretakers, and maybe we shouldn't be wearing that short skirt. Maybe we should be cutting our hair short or putting it up in an appropriate way. And I kind of said, F that.
Come on.
And I'm going to be my best self. And my best self apparently has long, bright red hair. And I wear skirts, whatever length I want to wear, as long as I feel they're flattering. And I don't worry about my knees being 58 years old. If you don't want to look at them, don't look at them. And if you are looking, God bless you.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. If this ain't about purpose, then I don't know what is. Listen, it's never too late to elevate. And that is something that I talk about so often. 5 years ago, you'd have never even told me that I'd be here right now. I had no desire to do anything entrepreneur wise, period. But when you are really like sitting down and having that self-discovery moment, you just don't know what is going to come from that. And I love that you have stepped into that unapologetically. I think it's amazing.
I apologize once in a while.
You better than me because I don't. No.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And so I think probably once an episode I say, Sorry if that offended you, but there's a lot of room for us to have different points of view.
Absolutely. And I think that having like the mindset of understanding that we're not going to always agree with things, right? We're not going to always agree, but that doesn't mean you don't like the person. That doesn't mean that you wish ill intentions on them or anything like that. It just means that you don't agree with some of their values and their systems. And that's totally fine. I think that once we really come to an understanding as a culture, world, that everybody is not going to believe and act and operate the same way, I think the world will actually turn out to be an amazing place, because that's what makes the world is the diversity and doing things differently and being okay with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's definitely my
Oh,
mindset.
completely. I talk so much about perspective
Hmm.
because, like right now, we're at, this is the end of the year. It's the winter solstice. Our days are the shortest they're going to be if you're in the northern hemisphere.
Right.
If you're in the southern hemisphere, it's the longest day of the year. So if you were talking to somebody about how cold and dark it is and they happen to be in Australia, they're not going to know what the heck you're talking about.
At all.
So, and that's really important to recognize perspective.
Yeah, I
And,
agree.
it's like that illustration of two people standing either side of a number on the floor, and one of them seeing a 6 and the other seeing a 9.
Yeah.
And they both think the other person's wrong,
Yeah.
but they're both right.
They're both right. Yep. It's a fact.
There is room for you both to be
Yes.
right.
Yes, it is. And I love that you put that. I love the word perspective, right? Because I really like to operate in that, like being very like mindful of other people's views and values and stuff like that. But also, making sure that I do keep that perspective, because I don't want anyone to try to change my perspective. But I can still have a full-blown conversation with somebody who doesn't agree with some of the things I agree with and things like that. So I think that that's, super important. And I'm glad that you brought that up too. I want to talk about a title that I actually seen on your website, and that is The Renaissance Woman, right?
Yes.
And I absolutely love it. Anything that identifies our higher being, I'm all about it, right? So I would just love for you to talk about, like, one, what made you give yourself that title? You have like excelled in multiple things, and I'd really like for you to talk a little bit more about like everything that you have done.
My whole life, I kept trying to pick a lane. Somebody told me I was supposed to pick a lane.
Mm.
And I kept saying, I don't fit in your boxes, people. Why do you keep trying to put me in a box? You look at, and there was recently a brand new documentary on Michelangelo, who of course is the epitome of the Renaissance man,
Mhm.
which we've heard so much about Renaissance men. Why don't we have more Renaissance women? Maybe this is the Renaissance for women right here, right now. We're all
Absolutely.
discovering who we can be and how we operate differently. He challenged and defined. He drew the first landscapes. He was able to put all that together. He did, autopsies before people were doing autopsies just to understand how the body worked.
Right.
He didn't have to pick a lane. Why do we feel we have to pick a lane? Why do I have to be a grandmother or an artist or a speaker? Or can I be a Christian and still be a little bit of a earth worshiper? Is that okay too? I think Christ had room for that.
Mm.
I don't think Christ hated the earth. I think being in unity with our earth is one of the most beautiful things we can do.
Absolutely.
And that's why I went with Renaissance, because it was the one thing that encompassed, I have so many talents and I'm constantly working them all. I may not be the best at anything, but I'm constantly growing and evolving. And I love that.
I love it.
So
I
that's
love
my
it.
my point of view.
Hey, and
So
I absolutely love it, because that is actually giving you the vibe to say, hey, I'm going to continuously learn and I'm going to continuously grow. And I know sometimes, and especially when we talk more about the entrepreneur journey, a lot of times we feel like that we know certain things. But the one thing I want people to understand is, on this entrepreneur journey, you have to be a learner. Yes, you can be the leader. Yes, that's your business. Yes, you started it. But if you knew everything about starting your business, you would not need a team. You would not see people hiring CEOs, CFOs, COOs, you know, you have to understand that there is a level of things. So being able to walk that journey and continuously learn and continuously grow, is definitely something that we need to do. And speaking on that, the Renaissance side of things, I would love for you to share like a challenge. And I call these like thrills and spills, right? I have everybody share a thrill and a spill. Like on your journey that you've been on, because you've definitely had it. Is there like a specific story or something that was like a significant challenge for you that had you like struggling as you transitioned between, stepping out of that box and doing things your way? Were there challenges that you came across that you think?
How much time do we have?
Hey, we got time. We got time.
Let's go with something really recent. Once I met a podcast producer and we sat down and talked about this journey and taking it in this direction, because I've known for a couple of years I wanted to do this, but I only took this on-ramp earlier this year. And when I first did it, even my own husband's kind of like, so what is this? Why are you doing this? How much is this going to cost? There's a whole lot of questions in there. And I tell people this is my field of dreams. And if you've seen the movie Field of Dreams, you know that he's called by something. He doesn't even know what's calling him. And he plows under his cash crop of corn, which on the surface seems really stupid, right? And then it evolves and it becomes something, but he has to commit to it and keep doing this risky thing and investing more into it before he ever finds out why he's on this journey. And I feel like I'm on that same journey. I'm still not sure where exactly it's going, what exactly, if you want to call it the God, the goddess, the higher power has in store for me. But I'm feeling continuously like I'm on the right path. And sometimes it's a path in the dark and I don't have a flashlight and then I'm praying I'm not going to fall off a ledge. But either way, that is my objective. So I'm constantly working on it and looking for that, because part of being an entrepreneur is taking the risk. If you're doing something somebody's already done and there is a clear path to it, odds are it's going to be harder to succeed because you're not the first one going there.
Absolutely.
You need to be looking for that path that nobody's ever forged before.
Yep.
And so I took this azimuth and I did it. And people keep saying, well, so when are you going to start interviewing people? And I say, I'm not sure. There's a message on my heart and that's what I need to communicate right now. And eventually I might get to interviewing people, or it may just be 20-minute spots that continue to uplift people and feel like it's doing the right thing.
I love it. And I really want to thank you for being transparent, because a lot of times people feel like when we are walking the entrepreneur journey that we have it all together and we know exactly what we want. Yeah, we have a baseline, right? But the fact that you mentioned the word uncertains, that you said, I'm not sure exactly where this is taking me, but you are in alignment with yourself and self-aware to say, you know what? No, I'm on the right path though. Now, that path doesn't mean that there might not be some shifts and adjustments along the way, but you really identifying that and sharing that it's okay to not know everywhere you're going and not knowing what that end goal might not necessarily be. So I absolutely love that. And I appreciate you for sharing that. So tell us a little bit more about the podcast. I would love, tell listeners a little bit more about what what was the mission behind it and what you do with it.
Like I said, it started out as sharing this message of living your best life as the clock is ticking by. You're not, when I see pictures of my grandmother in her 40s, she's a farm wife with wire-rimmed glasses and a tight bun and a goiter and a house dress. I mean, she looks like she's about 70 years old and she's in her 40s. And we have redefined what a woman can be, what a woman is. And it doesn't mean we all have to be, Botox lips but if that's what you like, okay.
Right.
It doesn't mean you have to be, your ideal weight. If your doctor says you're healthy, great. You want to be healthy. whatever that means to you in your doctor. You need to be taking care of yourself and being your best self and being present, because as they say on the airplane, you have to put on your own oxygen mask first before you can help anybody else.
Straight like that.
So there's a lot of things you have to take care of and be aware of, and it's not easy. It is a tightrope, but nothing risked means nothing gained.
Hey, say it again. I love it.
So if you're not willing to take a risk, don't expect your life to change.
Yep. I love it. How are you fostering like community, Wendy, as far as on this journey? How has your community been when it comes to support?
My community's pretty good. The funniest thing is I've discovered women of my age don't listen to podcasts very much, which is a great irony that you have best friends who go, this is so great what you're doing. I'm seeing your shorts on Facebook and Instagram and all this stuff. I'm so glad you're doing it. I'm going, have you listened? Well, no, I don't really listen to podcasts. It's a really funny thing to have to sit down and teach people one at a time, which is not a way to build a business in some respects. Not if you want geometric progression. But I'm getting that slow increase and hoping they'll teach other people, and hoping that we'll be, fostering a new generation of older listeners that will benefit not just from my podcast, but your podcast and others that are out there. And they start to realize you can almost menu for what you need in your life. Just like when you go to the bookstore and you pick out the best self-help book that speaks to you, you can go and listen to a podcast and say, well, that one wasn't really my flavor, but that doesn't mean podcasts aren't for me. So mine's 20 minutes long, and I've grown to call them sassy sermonettes because there's always a message. They usually start with a little bit of a story, and then we talk about what does that story mean to my life and possibly to your life, and how do we reflect on that and come up with the best decisions for you.
Right.
Because my best decisions aren't your best decisions.
Right.
In any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. Hey, like moving forward, like where do you envision, the podcast, but also your journey as well? Because like I said, you've been in corporate America. You've been around all of that, and just where do you see yourself, moving forward? I know we talked about, the uncertainties, but like, what's your vision right now with regards to how you are serving?
At this point, I had the greatest compliment this past week. Somebody quoted me to me at an event.
Oh, that's all.
And I went,
dope. That's dope.
You're listening. You're actually listening. So that was, to me, validation number one. I've also had some wonderful personal messages saying, oh my goodness, you said what I needed to hear. All of that sort of process is happening right now. So this is the groundswell movement. And what I'm looking for is the geometric progression, that one person who gave me that positive note then says to 5 friends, and they listen. And those people say to 5 friends. And that's what I call a geometric progression. That 5 turns to 25, that turns into, I've already collaborated on a couple books. I'd love to do more publishing, more writing, and get out in the public forum where I can actually go and meet with the public. Instead of doing these, putting a message in a bottle is what a podcast sometimes feels like.
Yeah.
You write your note, you put it out there in the ocean, and you pray somebody's going to find that bottle and listen to it or read it. I'd love to reach a point where, I'm touring the country, and, next Friday I'll be in Chicago, and there are 100 women who come in, and I talk for a little bit.
And this is a message and a reminder to those who are thinking about starting this journey or on it stuck. You've got to pace yourself. You've got to get strategic. You've got to make sure that you have the right tools. I love what you touched on. It could be an hour-long seminar, but if I got 5 minutes of value out that seminar, that is a success for me. And first of all, we're going to speak that into existence, okay? Because this time next year when I talk to you again, you're going to be like, yeah, I've been over here, and I've been here, and I've been this. We claiming it, okay? So I would love, before we get out of here, I would love for you to share like a favorite productivity hack, time management tip, something that would help someone that is interested in starting this journey or who is on it and just stuck, I'd love for you to offer them some great value and insight.
I am going to go with the basics. And this is something probably no business planner will tell you, but stay hydrated. I say it a lot on my podcast. Ever since I moved to Arizona, I have learned the value of being hydrated. And I know it sounds corny, but I start every day with hot lemon water. And that allows my body to purify and feel refreshed. You know, you wake up with all that crud and your body hasn't flushed itself all night long. And then I keep a cup by me most of the day that has a straw, so I don't even have to think about drinking. The difference in mental clarity since I started a practice of drinking at least a gallon of water a day. Yes, I go to the bathroom a lot more. That also forces me to get up, move around.
I love how you look at that. Also, I love that aspect.
My esthetician sees the difference in my skin. Like, she'll call me on it. She, you know, when she's working on me, she'll go, I see a lot of skin here that is not hydrated. You haven't been keeping up with your water. And it's amazing what it does for you. I know it sounds really basic, but you'd be amazed if you start charting how much water you drink in a day. I'm going to guarantee probably 80 to 90% of people are not drinking enough fluid.
Yeah.
And that means your brain doesn't have the energy it needs. Your body doesn't have the energy it needs. Your skin doesn't have the energy it needs. You just can't function at your peak. Yeah. So it's not a business practice.
It is.
But remember that if you don't take care of you, how can you take care of anybody else?
And how can you take care of your business? So it is like, it is a hack that needs to be, because one thing that we have to realize is our journey is a holistic journey. That's mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. So if you're not applying those things to be the most effective version of yourself, how do you think that you're going to grow a business? You're not. And this is a reality that I had to learn.
Food intake and everything else.
Yeah,
but
it's a reality that I had to learn.
Basic way to start.
Yep.
Yeah,
it is facts. So
I started with a 1 gallon jug that was a motivational water jug, and it literally pegged out like how much you should drink by 8 in the morning, by 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
And boy, those first few weeks were hard.
Mm-hmm. I got one of those.
Once it becomes a practice,
I don't use it right now, but you finna be my motivation to go back and get it.
Especially during the holidays when there's so many things you need to flush out of your system.
Absolutely. And especially during the solstice, I agree. You know, there's a lot of things that we need to be flushing out and getting rid of and reshifting and realigning and like all of that. So again, it is a holistic, thing with regards to your growth and development as a business owner, whether it's full-time, part-time, you still have to practice those mindful tips as well. So I appreciate you sharing that because it was my reminder too. So, hey, I also be getting insight from these podcasts. I get insight too, y'all. So don't trip. This just ain't about you. I love doing these things because I get insight, I get support, and I'm inspired and motivated as well. So please, Wendy, let us know where we can find the podcast and where we can find you at on social media.
My website is Wonder Wendy and Friends. And that can lead you to all my social media links. Yeah. And it can also lead you to my podcast. But regardless what platform you listen to, there's a link in there for every platform. And if you are one of those people, well, I guess if somebody's listening to this, they listen to podcasts. But if you're one of those people who doesn't know how to do it, every episode's also right there and you can link right to it from the website.
I love it.
But I suggest you go to one of the platforms because, as we said, then you can follow and leave a 5-star review.
Absolutely.
And almost all of these services are free,
yes.
Which is the other amazing thing. There's nothing to stop you from doing it. They're free. You just sign up and it's that easy.
Straight like that, y'all. Straight like that. You have been an amazing piece of energy for me today. I so appreciate it. You are the exact version of when I tell people it is never too late to elevate. You are so operating in your element right now. And it just shows it. I hear it. I see it. And just continued wishes, best wishes on your growing success because we're claiming that. So y'all, I'm going to have her come back and let y'all know when she done hit the million downloads with the podcast and stuff like that. So I'm gonna make sure she come back and let y'all know when she do that, okay? And of course, her website link will be in the podcast description notes. So you guys will be able to check her out, check out what she offers, and check out more about the podcast. All right. So again, if you guys have not followed me, make sure you do that right now so you can stay up to date with these specific conversations, but also the other podcasts, which is Empowering Real Talk, but also live streams and more exclusive content strictly for the YouTube channel. All right. Listen, y'all, it is never too late for us to be the best versions of ourselves. And whatever that looks like for you, whether you are thinking about starting a part-time business, you're wanting to dive into entrepreneurship full time, you have the vision, you started, but you have no idea where to move forward. I am only a appointment link away. The link to schedule your complimentary chat will be in the podcast notes. Reach out and let's have a conversation. Let's talk about some purpose planning with regards to you elevating as an entrepreneur. All right. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and share this with a friend. All right. I'll talk to y'all later. Stay empowered, baby.